They take on the Oklahoma Sooners in the SEC tournament. LSU and Oklahoma met earlier this year in Baton Rouge with OU taking a series win at Alex Box. Sophomore William Schmidt will get the start on the mound for the Tigers opposite of Gavin Jones for OU. First pitch is at 8 p.m. from Hoover Met, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. The Raging Cajuns baseball team will also be in tournament mode today as they face Marshall in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. This will be the first time the Cajuns have played the Thundering Herd since last season's conference tournament when Marshall beat Louisiana 17-13. First pitch this afternoon is at 3 p.m. in Montgomery. And after a lengthy rain delay, Minnesota and Houston's game finally came to an end yesterday with the Twins taking a 6-3 win over the Astros. Tetsuya Imai got hit by the long ball again, giving up 2 through 5 2/3 innings of work. Game 2 of the series will be today, and it'll be Lance McCullers Jr. versus Zebby Matthews for the Twins. First pitch is at 6:40 tonight from Target Field in Minneapolis, and you can listen to it on our sister station, News Talk 98.5 FM and 1520 AM. And the New Orleans Pelicans have found their next head coach in Jamal Mosley. Mosley was recently fired from the Orlando Magic after his team was eliminated by the Detroit Pistons in the first round after having a 3-1 series lead. In his 5 seasons in Orlando, he's led the team to 3 straight postseason appearances. I'm Blake Persher, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Dawson Iserloh prides himself on taking a deep dive to uncover all the relevant data about the sports and sports teams he loves. And now he's sharing all those facts inside his big brain with all of you. Here is the LohDown with D-Loh on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown, ESPN 103.7 in Lafayette, 104.1 in Lake Charles. Anywhere you are with the ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app, we are broadcasting live inside the BLNA Bears studios here in Upper Lafayette. A lot to get to and a lot of college baseball on the show today. It is Tuesday. College baseball tournaments got going this morning. It's another, I've said this before, the times of the year where you can watch competitive sporting events at like the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., those are fun days. And that's what we have with the college baseball conference tournaments. It'll slow down a little bit as the week goes on, but the games that are on will be that much more important because there'll be semifinal and finals games, stuff like that. So the SEC, the ACC got going early. The Sun Belt will get going later, but that's an important one because it's the Cajuns, and there's already been some things that could potentially shuffle around what their situation looks like. So we'll go over some of that stuff today. We've got 3 guests here on the show this afternoon. It is a symmetrical day. Every half hour we will have a guest. We'll start things off with Koki Riley. LSU is, potentially going to play their last baseball game tonight. But who knows? Maybe they get hot. Maybe they put at least a little bit of a run together in Hoover. We'll talk to Koki about what their chances are to do that, and also just kind of big picture what this offseason is going to look like, what he expects to see, because it feels pretty appropriate to start talking about next season in some ways for LSU. At 2 o'clock, Jacob Rudner, Baseball America, will join us to talk kind of all these situations. What do the Cajuns have to do in his mind? What's the bubble going to look like? Which conference tournaments does he really have his eye on for things to impact Selection Monday? Reminder, by the way, it is Selection Monday. They do it one day later than they do the softball tournament. So it'll be Memorial Day Monday, which we will not have shows that day for the holiday, but we'll be back on Tuesday to recap everything, tell you who's going where. And obviously at that point, we'll know if any of the local teams found their way in. McNeese and the Cajuns certainly, as of now, looking like the most likely, given LSU's situation, but we've been over that before. We'll close things out at 2:30 with our friend Kevin Foote, the host of Footnotes, of course. I'll make the return trip to his show tomorrow morning, but we need to talk about this Cajuns game. They'll be 30 minutes from first pitch when Kevin joins us at 2:30, so it'll be there. We'll have the lineups. We did get confirmation that UL is going to go with Cody Brash on the mound today, so that's not a huge surprise. That was what I speculated. That was what Jay Walker speculated, and that was what Kevin Foote guessed as well, so all 3 of us end up being correct. They'll start with Brash, and they'll figure it out from there. Obviously, it's all hands on deck. I mentioned some of the help they got. In the ACC tournament, there was a baseball game this morning that was just absolutely bonkers. I'm going to talk about that game in the next segment. I do want to hold some time here for what I want to talk about to begin the show. As I mentioned, It's going to be a primarily college baseball focused show today because I've got guests lined up to talk about those topics, and they're pretty relevant and time relevant. But I want to start with the NBA playoffs because last night was probably the best NBA basketball game I've watched in 2 years. Last night was incredible. So with all that being said, we've got our guest list lined out. We've got everything else set up and ready to roll. Let's get locked in, and let's start by locking in on the NBA playoffs.
D-Loh is the kind of guy that stays locked in. On what? Well, that depends on the night. But you can guarantee there was some sporting event that he found interesting. It's time to find out what D-Loh was locked in on the LohDown.
So that is right. I did have a chance to be a part of the UL track and field graduation last night as the MC, so that was awesome. Congratulations to the graduates, a great class that has earned their degrees from UL. But after that, I got a chance to sit down and watch this basketball game, and then I got a chance to kind of review the footage this morning and go back and watch it over again. This series is what we've been looking forward to for a while now, right? And you saw these two on a path since early in the NBA season. It felt like they were the best two teams in the West. To be honest with you, I think it kind of feels like they're the best two teams in the NBA altogether. That being said, I think it's pretty easy to sit there and go, hey, the Eastern Conference Finals are a battle for second place. I don't know if that's the case. It always ends up kind of being the opposite when we think we know how things are going to go. But anyway, Spurs Thunder, they've been on a collision course forever. We're fired up about it. Regular season series went to the Spurs 3-1, and there were some convincing games in there. But it didn't feel like the Thunder were dead set on beating them in the regular season. I certainly thought there would be a difference in approach to what OKC did in the playoffs. We know how much the NBA game changes when the playoffs arrive, and every possession is valued a little bit more. Defenses clamp down a little bit. Offenses are trying to be more careful with the basketball. We just understand how the nature of how this thing goes, right? Last night to start this game, look, Victor Wembanyama, he has one clear title. If you want to turn the TV on and see something you've probably never seen before, he's the guy to watch. And that's not an original idea from me. I've been hearing that from a lot of people, and that's because it's the truth. The level of athleticism, I was thinking about this. Like, Wembanyama, obviously, he is what he is, 7'7", all this other stuff. It's just so rare for someone like that to be as comfortable in their body as they are. Like, those people, I don't know if you've ever met a person that's 7 foot tall, okay? I've met a couple. They're clunky individuals. They just don't move around very fluidly on the earth. And a lot of that, I imagine, is because they're unproportional in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's like some scientific discovery. 7 foot tall people usually aren't very smooth. Wembanyama is smooth. And like, I remember when Anthony Davis was coming up, that was one of the things about AD. It's like, man, he's 6'10", 6'11", but he just, and that was the whole thing, right? Oh, he was a guard in high school, and then he had a huge growth spurt, and so he kind of kept some of those skills. But even AD, it still took him a long time to kind of like grow into that. Remember how scrawny he was early in his NBA career? Wembanyama, I mean, look, he's not a bodybuilder. He's not ripped or anything, but the guy just has this control about his arms and his legs that people that are 7.5 feet tall on this earth don't have, right? So that was another appreciation for that last night. Just seeing him get into it early, and clearly it was going to be a night for him. Where would the Thunder be without Alex Caruso last night? I mean, Caruso was unbelievable. And I had a couple things written down from him. First of all, it's a little bit later on in the first quarter. He actually got into the lane, and we've seen so many people just be afraid to go in there against Wemby, right? And you understand why. I mean, he can block a shot. Even if he's beat, he's still got a better chance than not to block your shot. Well, Caruso kind of went right at him, kind of put his shoulder down, and then hit a little floater over the top of Wembanyama. And I was like, man, that's kind of a statement early in this series, right? For Caruso to go, I'm not backing down from this guy. Now, look, there were certainly some times where the Thunder drove inside and Wembanyama did exactly to them what he's been doing to everybody all year long, which is swat that stuff into the second row. But I did make a note of it because I thought it was like, hey, maybe it's trying to set a tone a little bit. Like, we're going to be a little more physical than you are. Then a couple plays later, Caruso gets a steal, nice dish on the other end for a bucket. And then I figured out who he was to me. Like, it's the style of player. It's just the Josh Hart effect. And I'm not saying they're the same player. It's just somebody who you want on your basketball team. Like, you know him when you see him. And I sat there and was like, you know what? He's certainly got it, some flaws, some imperfections. I want players like Alex Caruso and Josh Hart on my basketball team. They do the dirty stuff. They, at times, can do the flashy stuff, too. And Caruso last night was unreal from three. At one point, he was 7 for 11. I think he ended up taking a couple at the end of this game. But if they didn't have him last night, this was going to be a rout, okay? Caruso ends up for the final game. Let's get his final line score here. 31 points on 11 of 19 from the field, 8 of 14 from three. Tossed in a couple rebounds and assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks as well for the 6'5" guard. He was awesome. SGA did not have his best night. 2 of 7 from three, 7 of 23 from the field. But this was the Victor Wembanyama game, right? This was the one. 41-24. The Spurs are up by 7.5, and you're feeling pretty good about it if you're San Antonio. But you know that home crowd's going to get behind the Thunder. They're going to make a run at some point. And they did a couple different times, and they did to tie this basketball game. And they get it tied late. SGA to the basket. Nice job defensively by the Thunder to kind of thwart that last-second effort. Wembanyama tried to turn around, hit the fall away. He was knocked around a little bit, and then Chet went up there and swatted it, and you send this thing to overtime. When Wembanyama pulled up from 30 feet out to hit that three with 26 seconds left in the first overtime, that's when this thing really got silly. And by the way, shout out to Mike Tirico. I don't know if there's a play-by-play announcer in the game right now more well-rounded and more effective than Mike Tirico is. I say that as a broadcaster in my own right. Somebody who likes to appreciate that aspect of the broadcast maybe a little more than some people do. Tirico's knowledge of the game, knowledge of the moment, and also the versatility. That's what I say. I mean, this guy called the Olympics. This guy has been involved in so many different things since he's taken the thing over to NBC. You talk about his NFL calls, now in the NBA playoffs. It's incredible. The hockey stuff he did during the Olympics and being the host of that, with big shoes to fill, obviously, with what like Bob Costas meant to that role for so many years and all that stuff. Tirico's unbelievable, and he, I thought, matched the moment last night pretty effectively. But that's what I love, too, and it kind of had an old school, like, NBA on TNT vibe to it. Some of these shots that were being hit late in this game and in overtime, all the announcers could do was kind of give the chuckles and the wows and the oohs and the ahs, and it felt like they were watching the game as fans. So I did enjoy NBC's coverage. I wanted to fit that in there as well. But ultimately, Wembanyama just decides he's going to fully take over in the last few minutes of this thing. The standing dunk where, like, he turns around. Now, that's the stuff where I'm almost not as impressed by it because I know that it's a product of him being taller than everybody else. But to just catch the basketball, turn around and dunk it like you're just an adult dunking on a child on a play basketball goal in the living room. You know those when you got your little nephew up against you and you just keep putting the ball in the hoop over and over again like you're 2 feet tall, I'm going to score on you 150 times in a row, and then maybe come back to me when you hit a growth spurt. Like, that's what Wembanyama does to defenders right now. It's unbelievable to watch. And it is, like, hard to sit there and go, how's anybody going to stop this guy? We know it's possible. We know the Thunder are better equipped to do it than anybody. But, boy, did they struggle with it last night. And Wemby had some games against the Wolves where he kind of disappeared a little bit and wasn't a factor. We know he got ejected as well. The interesting thing, when I was taking notes on this game, I had my Spurs-Wolves notes of Game 1 up on the same page or on the page prior. And I had written down, is Gobert the answer, ? In regards to Wembanyama. He wasn't, but he did change what San Antonio had to do in that series. I thought Gobert was important to why the Wolves were able to grab a couple games, and at some points in that series looked like they had a real shot. And ultimately, San Antonio took care of business late in that series and got things figured out. But I don't think Chet can, I know Chet can't provide the same level of defensive resistance that Gobert could against Wemby. And they're not just straight up putting Chet on him. You had Caruso guarding him sometimes. And at 6'5", it's funny how small Alex Caruso looks at 6'5". I remember thinking about that when I was a kid, when Chris Paul would be running around for the New Orleans Hornets, and he always looked so tiny out there. And my dad was like, well, Chris Paul's like 6 feet tall. Like, he's actually a pretty tall human if you just were to walk around by him. But he's always standing next to guys who are 6'8", so it makes him look small. Caruso's 6'5", and he looks like he's a miniature person. He looks like he's in third grade when he's guarding Wembanyama. And somehow he did an okay job at it last night. This series is going to be so fascinating. to watch how many different levers OKC tries to pull and to just watch the counters that San Antonio, which, look, their peripheral pieces probably don't get enough credit. Champagny with a couple of huge shots last night, and Dylan Harper. I mean, they've got other options that are helping Wembanyama out. He's not doing it alone. But what a game. San Antonio takes it on the road. They steal game one. They steal home court advantage, as they say, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Look, tonight we get this game two, or game one, I should say, of the second series with the Cavs and the Knicks, and it's going to be hard for that game to live up to what we saw last night. And I don't know if that series is going to have the same level of intrigue either, but as we said, it's a golden opportunity for one of those two teams to punch their ticket and make an appearance in the NBA Finals. But it feels like Spurs Thunder is going to be a bloodbath. And then that, in some ways, right, if we're saying we think that whoever wins this is going to have an edge over the Eastern Conference Finals teams, if either the Knicks or the Cavs, if one of them can get hot and finish that series out in a shorter amount of time, this Thunder-Spurs series is going to grind on those two. They are going to be fatigued and worn down, it feels like, because this series has all the makings of a 7-gamer. That could make things interesting in the finals as well. All right, that's as much NBA talk in one segment as I've done in a long time, but I'm enjoying it. I'm back in, all the way back in. All right, we'll take a timeout now. When we return, one of the craziest baseball games. I love baseball games that just get bonkers and wild. We had one in the ACC tournament this morning. 33 runs scored between the two teams. We'll tell you who won and why it helped the Cajuns' cause. That's next here in the LohDown.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh. Live on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Make sure to set your alarm and tune in Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock for Sports Shorts here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Join me, Ronnie Rance, and the Sports Shorts team of Tommy Christsan, Hunter McCann, and the crazy man, Joel Davis, as we break down the sports and teams that you love. The LSU Tigers, New Orleans Saints, and everything in between. Tune in Saturday mornings from 10 to noon for Sports Shorts here on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
May is Military Appreciation Month, and ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles and Nolan's Lawnmower Sales and Service in Carencro will be honoring our military all month long. Nolan's is locally owned and supports our military community every day. We honor and salute because freedom isn't free. May is Military Appreciation Month, and we salute you. Powered by Nolan's Lawnmower Sales and Service in Carencro and ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles.
Everybody's talking about the big, beautiful bill, and it's game-changing for taxpayers. Hi, this is Kerry Bryson with the Bryson Law Firm. We've read the bill, and if you've been putting off a tax problem, it's time to call the Bryson Law Firm and get it resolved. This new legislation could give you a chance to get things straight with the IRS. Whether it's getting caught up on unfiled returns or negotiating IRS debts, there are a lot of new deductions and opportunities in the big, beautiful bill, and the Bryson Law Firm knows how to use them strategically. We've been staying on top of the tax changes in the big, beautiful bill, and we're ready to help our clients take full advantage. So if you owe back taxes or haven't filed returns in years, it's time to call the Bryson Law Firm and finally resolve your tax issues. Remember, if you have tax problems, you have legal problems. Call the Bryson Law Firm. Our headquarters are in Lafayette, and we have offices statewide. Or visit BrysonLawFirm.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm. The Bryson Law Firm. LSP filing number LA2519079.
Ready to transform your backyard into the summer paradise you've always dreamed of? With Duplessis Builders custom gunite pool packages, we make it simple to own a stunning, long-lasting, in-ground pool built just for you. Choose from classic designs, all customizable to fit your space, style, and budget. Our pools come with quality finishes, energy-efficient equipment, beautiful lighting, and professional installation from excavation to decking, so you can dive in before the next heat wave hits. Don't just dream it, build it. Visit DuplessisBuilders.net.
Every weeknight, MeTV has your laugh therapy.
To chase away the blues or the olive drabs.
With 2 hours of MASH at 5.
This guy's ankle has tickled my funny bone.
Followed by the Andy Griffith Show at 7.
Doggone it, Otis. You're supposed to be hugging me when I'm arresting you.
But he likes you, Bart.
Weeknights on MeTV.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
This is ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Broadcasting live from the Beal and Hebert studios in Upper Lafayette. Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Back to more of Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
So we're back here on the LohDown. If you've been following along with what we've been talking about with the Cajuns baseball team and their, quest for an at-large bid, like what needs to happen for them, it's obviously a very fluid situation. It's going to be impacted by, mostly directly by their game at 3 o'clock, which is getting going in just more than an hour and a half against Marshall. They've got to win that one to get into the double elimination portion of the Sun Belt tournament. But we also mentioned that there's a lot of peripheral things that could impact them around the country. And there's almost too many of them to come out. I remember when it was basketball time, I did a rooting guide for these things. I went through and had every result that you needed. I think that was a couple years back. There's almost too many for me to even put something like that together. But one of the big ones happened right off the rip today at the ACC tournament. They play this thing in Charlotte. I don't know why. It just feels like the ACC tournament always has a bunch of games that are with 47 combined runs scored and 46 walks and 22 errors. There's just chaos over there. NC State played Duke this morning. Duke was the number 16 seed, I think the last team in this tournament. And NC State needed a nice little run to pad their resume. And at one point, NC State was leading this game 3-0. And at other points, it looked like this game was never going to end. But in the end of it, Duke beats NC State 21-12. The Blue Devils scored 9 runs, or make that the Blue Devils. That's Duke. They scored 9 runs over the final 3 innings of this game and beat NC State by 9. Even with all that factored in, NC State still hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 9th with nobody out. And I was like, could it be? 12-run comeback? Is it in the cards? It was not. Duke would get the next 3 outs. So NC State's now out of the ACC tourney. They have the nightmare that the Cajuns are trying to avoid, right? Losing your first game to one of the worst RPI teams in the league. The final resume for NC State, 32-21 is the overall record. They are 14-16 in the ACC. Losing record in conference play. Their RPI is 48. Their DSR is 33. Their SOS is 26. SOS, by the way, strength of schedule. DSR is another kind of analytic metric that is a little different than RPI. It's more of a newer school thing. Some people like it, some people don't. Their record in Quad 1 games is 6-11. So as of now, the Cajuns' RPI is 8 spots better. Keep in mind, as we're saying, that could potentially change. If the Cajuns lose to Marshall, they will drop some. Will they drop all the way down below 48? I'm not exactly sure. But one of the biggest numbers in there, we've been told for a long time by the committee that Quad 1 wins rule the day. And your Quad 1 record is a big storyteller about you, right? Well, NC State's Quad 1 record is 6-11. UL's Quad 1 record right now is 5-7. So they don't have as many Quad 1 wins, but they have a much better winning percentage in games like that. The other thing that's interesting to me is I actually have NC State's RPI as 42 on Warren Nolan right now, but the 11.7 folks had them at 48. I don't know if that's just because one of them hasn't refreshed, but we'll have to wait and see what that ends up being. Our guy, Micah Butel, who we'll have on later in the week to break down everything related to college baseball, he tweeted NC State should be in. Now, he's a noted ACC guy. He says that before. He's got a little ACC bias in him. But that is very intriguing, especially given who they could be compared up against when we're having these conversations. And quite honestly, UL could be one of those teams. So, as I said before, in some ways it's simple. You've got to win today. And you got to find a way. And I got more on Bryce Blevins, by the way. I think we'll talk about that a little bit with Kevin. The soft-tossing lefty that they're going to probably throw against UL, I would imagine. We should also be getting lineups pretty soon, by the way. I mentioned that at some point today on the show. We'll be able to go through the lineups and give you a preview of that. But they've got a chance to handle their own business, get a win in this game, and then kind of breathe for a little bit while knowing that you still probably want to grab a couple more while you're there. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see what this all looks like. As I mentioned, later on in the show, we are going to talk with Jacob Rudner, who covers the sport from more of a national standpoint, right? And I always like to mix those opinions of the national coverers of the sport, coverers, if that's a word, with the local angles, because sometimes you just get different opinions, and that's why it's great to have Micah on every week. But we'll do that with Jacob Rudner at the top of the second hour. It should be interesting to see how that goes. But the Duke game, you know what it also was a reminder of, man, you better get ready to roll. And it's a little tougher, too. I don't know if the Cajuns will have this exact, situation, but NC State had to get that game going at 9 in the morning. And, a lot of us grow up playing travel baseball games early in the day. But after that, there comes a point in your life where you don't play very much baseball at 9 a.m. anymore. So, it's not an excuse. Both teams had to deal with it, but it sounds like maybe Duke handled it a little bit better. But you want to talk about an early wake-up call. Like, you're playing for your lives, and you're playing for your lives. And Duke's just trying to have a fun week in Charlotte and do what they can. And all of a sudden, you're down by 9. Like, that's tough. And at one point, they were down by 12 in this game. So you've got to figure it out. You got to get ready to roll. This Marshall team's going to be fast and loose. They're going to be playing with nothing to lose. Fast, hard, and loose is how Coach Deggs likes to play. You got to be guarded against that. So we'll see. Also, this morning, you had the SEC tournament get underway. We had told you about that. We knew there was going to be a chance of chaos, and how about that? Same deal. Ole Miss playing Missouri. Ole Miss maybe needed a big week to try and get, put themselves in a better spot as far as the hosting and everything like that. They're ranked 17th on D1 baseball. Guess what they lost to? They lost to the Missouri Tigers, the worst team in the SEC for multiple years now. Missouri beats Ole Miss 10-8. The Tigers scored 2 in the top of the 8th and then put up 2 zeros in the bottom half of both the 8th and the 9th frames to upend the Rebels. The Rebels are fine. They'll be in this tournament, but where will they be? That is now a very interesting question. So Missouri gets the job done and upsets Ole Miss there in the first round, and it's not to be outdone. There have been 3 conference tournament games completed this morning. All 3 of them fairly massive upsets. Purdue, 35-18 record coming in. They were going to be squarely on the bubble, RPI in the low 50s. They lose to Michigan State, 8-4. Sparty got 7 runs in the first 2 frames and then put it in cruise control. After that, Purdue didn't get on the board until the 8th. So Purdue is another bubble team that loses. That helps the Cajuns as well. Purdue, though, the Big Ten tournament's double elimination from the beginning, so they're not out yet. But they just got dealt a pretty serious blow to their RPI, and now it's going to be sitting almost near 60. So it's a fun time of the year, I'll tell you that. Kentucky and Vandy are going to get going soon. They're delayed a little bit. Shocker, the SEC tournament's not running on schedule. It only took us how many games to get there? 1 completed, and we are no longer on our scheduled slots. If you're hoping to watch LSU tonight, just plan to be up for a while. That's what I'll say on that. All right, speaking of which, Koki Riley's going to join us to preview the game. We will talk with Koki after the timeout. This is the LohDown, ESPN, Southwest Louisiana Sports Station. Stay with us.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The LSU Tigers baseball team will try to keep their season alive tonight as they take on the Oklahoma Sooners in the SEC tournament. LSU and Oklahoma met earlier this year in Baton Rouge with OU taking a series win at Alex Box. Sophomore William Schmidt will get the start on the mound for the Tigers opposite of Gavin Jones for OU. First pitch is at 8 p.m. from Hoover Met, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. The Raging Cajuns baseball team will also be in tournament mode today as they face Marshall in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. This will be the first time the Cajuns have played the Thundering Herd since last season's conference tournament when Marshall beat Louisiana 17-13. First pitch this afternoon is at 3 p.m. in Montgomery. And after a lengthy rain delay, Minnesota and Houston's game finally came to an end yesterday with the Twins taking a 6-3 win over the Astros. Tetsuya Imai got hit by the long ball again, giving up 2 through 5 2/3 innings of work. Game 2 of the series will be today, and it'll be Lance McCullers Jr. versus Zebby Matthews for the Twins. First pitch is at 6:40 tonight from Target Field in Minneapolis, and you can listen to it on our sister station, News Talk 98.5 FM and 1520 AM. And the New Orleans Pelicans have found their next head coach in Jamal Mosley. Mosley was recently fired from the Orlando Magic after his team was eliminated by the Detroit Pistons in the first round after having a 3-1 series lead. In his 5 seasons in Orlando, he's led the team to 3 straight postseason appearances. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you. ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Row coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
Since 1958, Alamo Glass has been serving Acadiana's glass needs. Alamo Glass does outstanding work on residential windows, custom shower doors, mirrors, custom framing, commercial storefronts, and door repairs. Alamo Glass also carries plexiglass and Lexan. Need a windshield or rock chip repair? Alamo Glass offers free mobile service as well as free estimates on any of your glass projects. Call Alamo Glass, 1220 Bertrand Drive, or call 233-8811. Need glass? Call Alamo Glass.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
MeTV is America's #1 classic entertainment television network. And here's one of the reasons everybody loves MeTV.
Oh, it's a classic.
The great comedy lineup on weeknights.
This will be fun. Come on.
With MASH.
Loaded with snappy comebacks.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I was just funning with Barney.
And Everybody Loves Raymond.
Now we got a show.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
What is dementia? Is it the same as Alzheimer's? What is vascular dementia, Lewy body, FTD, TBI, and CTE? If someone has memory loss, does that mean they have dementia? Millions of Americans ask these questions every day. I did too, and I learned. My wife Ginny developed dementia. I didn't know what to do or what was coming next. I'm Kevin Jameson, volunteer and president of the Dementia Society of America. I'm excited to offer you a free guide to understanding dementia. It's filled with facts about dementia, care planning, how doctors can help, and ways to keep your brain as healthy as possible. The Dementia Society of America is a national nonprofit, and we're ready to answer your questions. You want to live life to the fullest. I know that. Ginny did too, and I'm confident that we can help. Get your copy of the guide. Go to 1-800-DEMENTIA.org or call 1-800-DEMENTIA. Thank you.
You know the routine. Eat, sleep, sports talk, repeat.
Well, up and at 'em. We're here.
Here is more daily sports talk from ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles.
The LohDown continues here on Tuesday. We are talking with our first guest of the day, and that is our friend Koki Riley. Covers LSU baseball for the Advocate, NOLA.com. Koki, we know it hasn't been the LSU baseball season we're used to seeing, but how have you hung in there down the stretch?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me on.
We have seen, so the SEC tournament got going this morning. The theme of the morning, by the way, in just like every conference tournament, is the upsets already. We've seen Ole Miss go down to Missouri. Duke beat NC State, which is not good for the Wolfpack's tournament chances. But what did you make of seeing the challenge system implemented in the SEC tournament here early on?
I think it's really, really cool. I think it's notable that the strike zone is a little bit bigger than the one that's in Major League Baseball, and I'm mostly okay with that because it keeps the game moving, and these aren't quite Major League Baseball players. I think it's good to give the pitchers a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to that sort of stuff. The offenses already have such a major advantage in college baseball with the metal bats. So I'm good. I'm good with it. I think it's really, really cool and really, really fun to see what's actually a strike and what's actually not a strike, and to just the game planning aspect of this, just in terms of the strategy of when the challenge and not the challenge. And, and the calls are coming in quick so far, and the system's working. And I just really hope we get to see this in regular season games in the SEC.
If Cokie Riley was in charge of the SEC, how many teams would get invited to this tournament?
I think that we should probably go back to 12 or 14, 16, having everybody there. The thought process behind doing that was so that they could have as many teams have a chance of making the tournament as possible, the NCAA tournament as possible, right? Because you're given, a team like LSU, for example, a shot of winning 5 games in 6 days and still making it in, and that's an extra team for the conference, and therefore that's good for the conference. Like, I get that. But just from a pure, product and entertainment standpoint, what's better for the players and what's the most feasible way of doing this tournament, especially when you have so many rainouts and rain delays in this part of the country at this time of year, it's probably just to go back to 12, 14 teams. The old tournament structure was 12, right? And I think if you lopped off the final 4 teams, I don't think it would be necessarily the end of the world. And I know LSU, I want to say they were the 11th seed when they made the final in 24. I'm trying to remember what seed they were exactly, but it's just really hard to win 5 games in 6 days, let alone 4 and 5, which was in the old format. So I don't know. It's not the end of the world that there's 16 teams. I just think that expanding the tournament to where everyone makes it in at this point is I don't know what that's really doing, I guess.
I'm with you on that part. I mean, it also is interesting. Obviously, they got rid of the double elimination part of it, and that was maybe as much about the rainouts and some of those extra games being factored in. But it isn't. I mean, we already see Missouri gets the upset over Ole Miss, so we'll see if they can make a little mini run. If LSU's going to make a run, Cokie, I mean, what is there a blueprint for it other than a few guys who just haven't thrown the ball well all season, finding a way to do it? Can you compare it at all to the 24 run? Although we know that team was playing a lot better than this one is.
Yeah. The best way they can do it is that, the teams that they're facing don't care about this tournament as much as they do. And that makes a big factor, maybe not in terms of who's playing out in the field, and it's more about mental and pitching, right? Pitching especially, where you're using a guy like William Schmidt tonight. Meanwhile, Oklahoma's throwing a guy who's started 1 game this year and has a 6 ERA. It is very different. The goal, Oklahoma's probably making the tournament regardless of what happens here. Almost certainly making the tournament regardless of what happens here. But you obviously are not in that spot. You have to treat this weekend as if it's a regional weekend. They've got to win 5 games in 6 days against some of the best teams in the country. LSU's pitching has been so poor over the second half of the season that even the pitching advantage may not be enough, but we'll see. I mean, they can win this game. I can definitely, see that happening. I don't think Oklahoma's as good as the teams that they've been losing to so far this year. They already beat Oklahoma once, arguably should have won the series. They're going to be going balls to the wall with their pitching. Oklahoma probably will not be. So when you factor all that in, I kind of have trouble seeing why LSU couldn't win this game. It's hard to really bet on a team that's, lost, 15 of their last 18 SEC games. But it's possible. I think it's possible. The bigger issue is then the next day where they go against an Auburn team that's almost certainly going to host not just be a regional host, but be a top 8 seed in the NCAA tournament. Granted, they probably won't be pitching their better pitchers in that game either, but they're still very, very good teams. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess they could, especially if the other teams that they're facing are just throwing their best guys, as the way LSU will be. But even if you do get through these first 2 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going up against top guys again, and you're going up against really good offenses and all that sort of stuff. So then you're kind of running into the same issues as they did in the regular season then. So, even if they do have a pitching advantage in these first 2 days, the last 3 are that's what the math kind of starts getting impossible for them.
Koki Riley is our guest, joining us to talk LSU baseball here on the show. Koki, as you've watched the last month of this season go down, and still when there was at least a sign of hope, and maybe they'll get this turned around to what we've seen later, which is just it wasn't going to happen. Has your opinion changed at all about what led to that and kind of what happened, or have you just kind of remained feeling like the same reasons that they got in this trouble in the first place, or why they haven't gotten out of it?
Well, I think that the A&M series was kind of like the series where people realized, oh, wow, they're probably not going to get out of this. And since then, they've been a different team in terms of why they're losing games. So I think it's been roughly the same in terms of the issues, the strengths, the reasons why they're losing, the reasons why they're scoring runs. That's been mostly the same for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But, when they were losing before that and struggling to, say, an Ole Miss or an A&M or, losing a series to Oklahoma, they were losing for different reasons. And, a lot of that just has to do with personnel, and, last few weeks, they've really leaned on the freshmen to make contributions, and those guys have improved them defensively and at the plate. Mason Braun and Omar Cerna have taken a big step forward as the season has gone along, and they're playing good everyday SEC players, which is huge for next year's team. Jack Ruckert has kind of proven that he's going to at least be a strong contender to start at second base next season. He's going to be a key piece of that. William Patrick's a great athlete, and that's a guy you kind of want to see in the lineup for a game like tonight's. So, there's pieces on the offense, and you feel better about your offense. I think the approach has been better. I noted, the guys are feeling the ball better. Like, the position player groups played better, much better, since they've inserted these freshmen. They've taken the transfers out of the lineup. The problem has been the pitching. It's pretty simple. This team doesn't have enough pitching, and some of it is, younger guys stepping into a bigger starting role and running out of steam as the season goes on. So we've kind of seen some of that. Think of a guy like Casey Evans getting hurt and then coming back and then kind of struggling. And then, a guy like William Schmidt gets last week off. Even then kind of struggled two of his prior 3 starts before that. And then with the bullpen, it's just been kind of, worst case scenario after worst case scenario, way too many walks, wild pitches galore. I think they have 26 or 27 more wild pitches than the next highest team in the league. So, it's stuff like that that's really, really hurting this team. Despite the fact that offensively they're pretty good, it's just no team can survive when you're giving up at least 11 runs in 6 straight SEC games. It's just unfeasible, and that's the thing that they have to fix this offseason is the pitching, and whether that's approach, the guys that they're bringing in, they're gonna have to remodel a lot of what they're doing there. And even though Evans and Schmidt seem like decent candidates to take a step forward next season and be good starters, I still believe in those guys generally. And you'll have Cooper Moore back next season. I think injuries, really hurt this team, especially in the Mississippi State series where you lose your Friday starter less than an hour before first pitch. But at the same time, that doesn't really explain Maverick Rizzi's struggles, doesn't really explain Cooper Williams' struggles. A lot of these last year's freshmen turned into sophomores this year. Those guys got worse. They didn't get any better. And that was kind of a big factor into why this team struggled, especially at the bullpen. I think a guy like Devin Sheeran kind of got tired. Zach Cowan struggled this season for the most part. It's just worst case scenario after worst case scenario, and some of that's on the players, some of that's on the coaching, some of that's just on luck, and some of that's on the defense. It's a little bit of everything, and the bottom line is that they got to be better when it comes to that stuff.
I don't know how much thought you've given to it, Koki, just about this idea of what national champions have done in the year after their tournament runs, and like the best one in recent memory is actually the LSU team that got hot late in the season. It would actually probably be a pretty easy argument if it had just started with the NIL era and you could kind of make a point of like how much they're investing in these players who then leave the next year. But it goes back way farther than that with the Mississippi State team and the Ole Miss team that didn't do anything the following seasons. Do you have a great reason for why it's so hard for some of these teams? Like even a Coastal team that was in the championship series last year. I know it's not the same as winning, but they've come back and had a fine year even with some injuries. I just don't really quite get why it's so hard for these teams to repeat success.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's like an obvious answer that explains some of it, but there's no answer or really combination of answers that explains all of it. I mean, the answer that explains at least some of it is like, when you win the championship, you're probably going to lose some of your best players.
Right.
And replacing those players is very hard. That's a very, obvious, in-your-face answer. And, I mean, that explains a good chunk of it for LSU, right? Like, when you don't have Anthony Ianson and Kate Anderson, you're either bumping up guys or you're taking, dice rolls on incoming freshmen or transfers to fill those spots. And, better chance than not that you're not going to find guys who are that good again. Even though this team had an uncanny amount of success with finding top two starters the last 3 years. So I sort of came into this season feeling like they were going to be able to figure that out to some degree, and that ended up being wrong, along with a bunch of other stuff. But that's just kind of the obvious, that's kind of an obvious answer, but it's not. But that can't explain everything. Like, this team did bring back more than the 24 team did in terms of, proven production at the plate and on the mound, coming back for another season. I mean, that 24 team had to replace Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan, Paul Skeens, Ty Floyd, everybody but Tommy White, basically, and their catching rotation. That was a lot to replace, and they had a lot of struggles, and the schedule really hurt them. And the offense just wasn't the same. Took a big step back, which that made sense given the amount of guys that you lost. But the offense sort of found enough of something in the second half of the season, combined with the pitching to find that pitching. The pitching on that team finally really sort of picked up the slack in the second half as well. But with this team, they just never. It's very strange to see how much they struggled at the plate in the first half of the year and then on the mound in the second half of the season. I mean, on the mound, some of that can be explained by the circumstances of just, late season college baseball. Well, the weather gets warmer. You're playing in smaller parks already. The pitchers are tired. So that explains some of this, but, every team is dealing with that sort of stuff. So it doesn't explain 11 runs a game. And that's just a big, big issue for this team. And I don't really know. And they just got to make pretty big changes to their pitching staff in order to fix this stuff, because I think offensively, some of those factors help them offensively that I mentioned earlier with the park and whatnot. But and I think those guys have genuinely improved, or a guy like Katie Arambidi hitting 18 home runs this season. That's a fantastic development for this team, for next year's team. But it's not like Correal had a bad season. I think he had a solid season. He played up to his standard, I'd say. Maybe he didn't blow everybody away, but he played solid. Stephen Milam was really good offensively in the second half of the year. Jake Brown kind of had the offensive breakout that you wanted him to have, especially with his power, up until he got hurt. So, and even after he got hurt, your offense was even better because a guy like Cerner and a guy like Braun really stepped up. But I know I'm talking way too much right now, but it's all to say that the fix here is pretty simple. They got to fix the pitching. That's a pretty big ask, obviously. But this year it was an unacceptable season on the mound for them, and why it was is really, really startling, because they brought back a lot of the depth guys from a national championship team, and some of those guys had to take a step forward, and that was going to be difficult for them always, but none of those guys got better. Most of them got worse. And that's kind of, again, that's crazy given the fact that a lot of those guys won the national championship, helped win the national championship for this team just last season.
It is fascinating, no doubt. Koki, one last one for you. What are the chances you think this game tonight ends before midnight?
Low.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the second game's going to start at 4:30. The third game, is going to start around 4:30 unless this one goes super long. The second game goes super long. There's a bit of a break between games 2 and 3 on the days where you got 4 games in a day here in Hoover. So there's something. So it's really going to be about what happens in the third game. When does it finish? But still, I mean, if we start at 8, that would be that would be kind of miraculous. So I don't think that's going to happen.
I am with you, Koki. Enjoy the game, and thank you for doing this, man. We'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
That's Koki Riley talking LSU baseball. They get it going tonight, potentially at 8 o'clock. We'll see how close to 8 they actually start. Of course, you can hear that game right here on these same stations. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll wrap up hour 1 after the break. Stay tuned.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
You can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or doorstep. 100% local. They have their own bottling facility. No chemicals added, just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. You can get delivery of 5 or 3 gallon water jugs with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or single serve bottles. They'll deliver them to your home or office. Clearsprings.net, or you can call them at 337-519-3563.
ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is your home for the Houston Astros.
And the Astros stun the Mariners.
Hunter Brown, Yordan Alvarez, and the rest of the Astros are looking to get back to the postseason. You can listen to every pitch, hit, and thrilling victory of the Houston Astros.
Incredible!
As Robert Ford and Steve Sparks will be on the call. Tune in this season for live Astros baseball on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
At Waterboys Water Well Services, we're more than just a quick fix. A handshake means more to us than a contract. From water treatment that protects your home and health to expert well drilling, pump installation, and maintenance, we've got your water covered. Cleaner, safer, better tasting water starts with trust and ends with Waterboys. Proudly serving Louisiana families with integrity and experience. Waterboys, high quality H2O products, 337-678-9955.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce exhibit number 1.
MeTV is America's #1 classic television network.
There can only be one number 1, me.
MeTV features over 60 of the greatest classic TV series each week.
Go with the winner.
Enjoy dramas, comedies, westerns, sci-fi, and more.
You just watch me.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
MeTV is memorable entertainment television.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in Louisiana at highschoolofficials.com.
We are Lions International, the world's largest service organization. We are volunteers committed to strengthening our communities and supporting those in need, one act of kindness at a time. For more than a century, Lions have been serving a world in need, right here in our community and around the world. Lions International makes the impossible possible. This is your invitation to join us, because the only thing missing from our mission to make a difference is you. Visit lionsclubs.org to find a local Lions Club near you.
back to the sports talk you not only want, but need. This is ESPN, 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Back here on the Lowdown as the first hour winds down. We went a little late with Koki Riley there, so we will catch you up on a couple things here and then get to the second hour. We'll do poll question towards the end of hour number 2. I do have an update for you from the NCAA Golf Regionals. Our guy Milan Paketer for the Raging Cajuns competing as an individual. We told you about that last week. And he is on a heater. There are, let me count them up, how many players we've got in this tournament. About 100, a little less than 100 players in this regional. Some of those are subs. So you've got 76 who have actually posted a score. 76 players. Milan Paketer through almost 2 rounds now sits tied for second. He is 9 under par. He shot a 5 under 66 yesterday. He's 4 under today through 14 holes. The leader is Will Hartman of Vanderbilt, who is 12 under and is done for the day. Shot a incredible 63, 8 under par today. Paketer's just 3 shots back of Hartman, and he's tied for second with Josiah Gilbert of Auburn, and John Ed Steed of Vanderbilt sits 1 shot back of him. So he's in a tie for second. He's got 4 holes left to play. I'm just looking at the live scoring here. So shout out to Milan Paketer. He's going to have a chance to go to the national championships if he can continue this hot play through the final round of that tournament. But Will Hartman leads right now by 3. Paketer has 4 holes to left to try and make up some more ground. 4 under today after a 5 under round yesterday. That's incredible stuff. This guy, look, he's ranked 54th nationally. I don't know where he's going to get his pro career going, but he's going to have a shot to make it. So remember that name. We've done a lot of golf talk on the show this week, obviously, with the PGA Championship. And so I thought I would fit that in there as well. Coming up in the second hour, we do have 2 more guests. Jacob Rudner is going to join us in less than 5 minutes, as a matter of fact, to talk college baseball. He covers the sport for Baseball America. Excited to get his thoughts on what's going to be a very busy week, of course, getting this tournament bracket figured out. Then Kevin Foote will join us at the bottom of the second hour. We'll talk Houston Astros struggles. We'll talk the Cajuns. We have a lineup card, and there's a player in the starting lineup for the Raging Cajuns that I did not expect to see in Montgomery. So that is good news. A player added back to the fold. We'll tell you who that player is when we talk to Kevin in just a little bit. Maybe we'll fit it in before then. For now, though, we take a timeout. We resume the Lowdown on the other side of the break. It is a Tuesday edition of the show, ESPN 1037 in Lafayette, 1041 in Lake Charles, anywhere you are with the ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app.
Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3-gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab or 337-519-3563.
It's May, and spring is finally here. A time of growth, renewal, and hope. And what better time to kick off Mental Health Awareness Month? Johnwell Therapeutic Services are proud to highlight May as National Mental Health Month. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. Reach out to a friend, family member, or professional if you need support. It's okay to take things one step at a time. You're not alone. Johnwell Therapeutic Services, proud supporters of National Mental Health Month.
This is your Chiropractic Expert Minute, brought to you by Dr. Quentin Briscoe, chiropractic physician.
Hello, I'm Dr. Quentin Briscoe. You may have heard me for Chiropractic Awareness Month. Today I want to share a quick tip to keep your spine and your whole body healthy. Everyday habits like sitting too long, poor posture, or even sleeping the wrong way can cause misalignments that lead to pain, stiffness, or fatigue. Chiropractic care doesn't just treat pain, it helps your body function at its best naturally. A chiropractic adjustment can improve mobility, reduce tension, and even boost overall wellness. Combine that with proper stretching, posture awareness, and a healthy lifestyle, and you're giving your body the support it needs to thrive. We are in network with the VA Community Care Network, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Aetna.
To schedule an appointment with Briscoe Chiropractic, visit drqmb.com or call 337-534-0091. That's drqmb.com or 337-534-0091. because your spine deserves expert care.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Carencro Lafayette, KLCJ FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news. Chiefs receiver Rashee Rice ordered to serve 30 days in jail for violating his parole after testing positive for marijuana. He'll miss OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Rice was serving probation for his involvement in a multi-car crash in 2024. The NBA's Eastern Conference Finals tip off tonight with the Knicks hosting the Cavaliers. Game 1, 7:30 Eastern ESPN Radio, 8 Eastern ESPN. Cleveland's had one day off after its Game 7 win. Former 12-time NBA All-Star Chris Paul.
Game 1, it would be interesting to see who sets the tone. Jalen has the ball a lot of the times with the Knicks, and obviously Donovan to James. James plays a little bit of a slower game for the most part, so it's going to be interesting to see how this series starts off and who guards who sets the tone.
New York has had 11 days off. Pistons GM Trajan Langdon has said he wants to bring back center Jalen Duren. He can become a restricted free agent this summer. Detroit can match other teams' offers. Canucks fired coach Adam Foote after just 1 year and a last-place finish in the NHL.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you what Wemby will do for an encore in Game 2 and why this series could be over quicker than we thought. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Dawson Iserloh prides himself on taking a deep dive to uncover all the relevant data about the sports and sports teams he loves. And now he's sharing all those facts inside his big brain with all of you. Here is the LohDown with D-Loh on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown, hour number 2 of 2. ESPN 1037 in Lafayette, 1041 in Lake Charles, anywhere you are with the ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app, and coming at you live on YouTube these days as well. A lot to get to here in the second hour. We covered a lot already. I had Koki Riley on to talk LSU baseball with us there to get things started. We've still got Kevin Foote coming up in just about a half hour. It's a college baseball focus day on the show. We've talked about some other things, though. Started it off with the NBA playoffs with what OKC and San Antonio did last night. So still a lot left to get to, and that includes bringing on our first guest of the second hour. Jacob Rudner covers college baseball for Baseball America in what is going to be a very, very busy week in the world of college baseball. Jacob, man, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So walk me through what your week looks like, trying to keep track of all these different games and places and where you're at and what you've been looking forward to.
Yeah, it probably doesn't make for great radio for me to tell you what I'm looking at right now, but I am sitting here with 6 games on and just trying to keep track of everything. We will be doing live updates of our field of 64 projections at Baseball America throughout the week this week. So just trying to keep tabs on everything and figuring out which bids are going to be stolen and which bubble teams are going to have to worry about it.
That's a good place to start because it was a bad morning for the bubble, right? Some teams that had opportunities, and NC State loses to Duke. Purdue loses to Michigan State. What do you make of those two teams and how those losses this morning might have impacted them?
Yeah, I think that the impact will be very similar for both, and that's that I think both will miss the tournament at this point. NC State probably has the better case just because of the conference that it's in and the games that it's had to play. At 14 wins in the ACC, it is on the wrong side of the bubble. The RPI is now around 50. We'll probably see it move. We'll give or take a couple of spots based on some results today. But generally speaking, I'd say it's reasonable to expect at this point that NC State will finish outside the top 50. And with a record in conference below 500, it's just not a good enough recipe. So my anticipation will be that they're on the wrong side of the bubble. We already had Purdue in our first 4 out. They were the 3rd team out of the field in our most recent projection. A loss to Michigan State today pushes them outside of the top 60 RPI-wise. And that, again, is just not going to be strong enough, especially in a league like the Big Ten. So 2 really bad results. If you're Purdue, there is still a chance to salvage this because it is double elimination in the Big Ten tournament. They will have chances, obviously, in the loser's bracket to try and make a miracle out of this and come all the way back. I just doubt that's going to happen with the metrics the way that they are. It's a pretty bleak day for both clubs.
And then also getting upset this morning, Ole Miss went down to Missouri. Obviously, they're in the tournament, but was there even a hosting path for Ole Miss? Is that going to potentially impact in that regard?
There was, yeah. I think that Ole Miss needed probably 2 or 3 wins in the SEC tournament in order to be sitting in a hosting position. They were 15-15 in the regular season in the SEC. That can be borderline with the right RPI, which at the time Ole Miss had. They were top 15. This will knock them out of that picture. They won't have other opportunities. Like I said, Purdue will. The SEC tournament is now single elimination, so Ole Miss is headed back to Oxford. And I just think that given the conference record, given who they just lost to be eliminated from the SEC tournament, number 16 seed Missouri, they are a pretty confident 2 seed at this point. I think that they'll end up towards the top of that line, even with this loss, but there's really no path to getting above it.
We covered the Louisiana Raging Cajuns here. Obviously, they're another team that's been popular on that bubble. They've got their kind of unique setup where they play an elimination game in the Sun Belt tournament today against Marshall, whose RPI is not in a good spot. But if they win that, then they get into the double elimination portion. So it's kind of like you win 2 lives back if you get through today. What do you make of their case, win or lose today, and then what they'd have to do in the rest of the tournament, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that Louisiana is in an increasingly solid spot. It's not a great spot. If there are multiple bids stolen, I think that Louisiana will have a much sweatier selection Monday. But when you have teams like NC State effectively playing themselves out of the tournament and Purdue, for the most part, the same, barring a miracle, things are looking pretty good. This is not a terribly strong bubble year, and I think that Louisiana's case is solid. They're 5-7 in quad 1 games, 9-6 in quad 2. It's good for the 40th RPI. 16-14 in the Sun Belt does not inspire much confidence. In the past, that has not been a good enough record to get across, which is why I think that they'll need a couple of wins here. In the Sun Belt tournament, today obviously is very important because it would be an RPI hit, as you said. So today must win. After today, a little bit more dependent upon whatever happens elsewhere. So we have the Raging Cajuns in the field. I have a feeling that won't change for our projection that comes out tomorrow morning, but there is some business to take care of in between.
How dependent on it could it be if they end up looking like next to a team like Texas State, who has 3 head-to-head wins over them? Like, how important do you think those direct, especially within the same conference, right? Whereas you said there's not a quick desire to put 5 Sun Belt teams in. So could that end up being where those teams are maybe playing against each other for a life if they match up in the Sun Belt tournament?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I think one of the issues that Texas State will have when it comes time for the committee to sit down and actually make a decision is its quad 1 record. At 2-9 in that category, it is a little bit more of a tough sell. They are 44th in RPI. And again, I mentioned that 16-14 Sun Belt record with Louisiana. That's where Texas State sits as well. So because it's not exactly the most automatic case of the at-large qualification category, I actually lean towards them being in a little bit more of a precarious spot. Now, obviously, if you go on a run in the Sun Belt tournament, you start to kind of increase that Sun Belt win total, even though it doesn't exactly count directly like it would in a regular season game. It will probably help them. The weakness of the bubble helps as well. I lean Texas State in and Louisiana in to give the Sun Belt 4 teams. But if I had to pick at this exact moment one of the 2 to put on the chopping block, it would be the Bobcats.
Jacob Rudner is our guest talking college baseball. He covers the sport for Baseball America. While we're on the Sun Belt, Southern Miss and Coastal both at the top of that league. They're comfortably in the tournament, but where do they stand? Obviously, Southern Miss has a pretty good hosting resume. Do they have a shot at a top 8 seed? And does Coastal have a shot at hosting at all, maybe outside of going on a run and winning the Sun Belt tournament?
Yeah, I think Southern Miss is an outside shot at a top 8 national seed. It's performed well in the categories that you have to be good in order to have a shot. 7-5 in quad 1 is good. It's just a little light by volume. They've been very good in quad 2. They're 16-5 there and 13th in RPI. 22-8 in the Sun Belt is a really good record, and that has historically translated. They also have 40 overall wins, which is a really big benchmark number. I do think that there are some SEC teams that are in a position right now to make a slightly stronger case to get above the top 8 national seed line. Florida, for example, has 18 SEC wins. That number is really compelling, and historically that does align with a top 8 national seed. They're not a sure thing to get there yet, but I would say that the committee goes with a team like that over a team like Southern Miss. Now, if you make a run in the Sun Belt tournament or if you win the Sun Belt tournament, that obviously becomes a really big feather in your cap. And so I think that that's probably, if you're Southern Miss, what you have to be targeting. As for Coastal, the only path I see to hosting at this point is what you just said, and that's winning the Sun Belt tournament. They have kind of plummeted over the last couple weeks. Series losses to Old Dominion, another one to Louisiana. It's just not the recipe at the right time to getting above the hosting line. It's also knocked them out of the top 20 RPI-wise. It just seems very unlikely to me that they get there. Again, that's, barring a deep run in the Sun Belt tournament here. But just talking about the resume that they have today as we have this conversation, it looks pretty unlikely.
We know how pivotal those top 8 seeds can be. Obviously, the chance to host all the way through the Supers. When I look at the D1 baseball rankings, UCLA, UNC, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Texas, is that the line like at number 5 where you start to go, well, after that things could change when you get to Auburn? Or how many teams are you very confident in are going to definitely be playing at home the whole postseason?
I think that there's probably 5 teams that are looking really strong right now to place above that top 8 national seed line. You mentioned UCLA and Georgia Tech. I think that those are the surest 2 teams in the country. North Carolina, not too far behind them, just in terms of overall strength and the ability to go on and win this whole thing. I think that those are kind of your 3 main forces. They're locks to be up there. Georgia, which we actually have in a really prominent spot as well over at Baseball America, is, in my opinion, in position to be the 3rd, at least, national seed. And I think that is a lock as well. You win the SEC regular season, you're in a really good spot. Beyond those 4 is where you can start to kind of have a conversation. I think Alabama, personally, is in a good spot to be a top 8 national seed. I think Auburn is in a solid spot to be a top 8 national seed. It does have a worse conference record than Florida, which I mentioned a second ago. I think that the Gators are back in the conversation. So there's a number of teams right now that I think are kind of floating around there. Florida State, another example. Texas A&M has had a really strong finish to the regular season. I think that they are 18 wins and also kind of in the picture. But I would say that the 6 I feel most confident in right now are UCLA, Georgia Tech, Texas, North Carolina, Alabama, and maybe Auburn.
It is interesting, Jacob. I think we've had a different perspective on it in baseball because, we're used to the basketball conversation too, and a lot of the criticisms have been, man, the committee doesn't seem to worry about these conference tournaments at all. Seems like a lot of times they have their mind made up outside of, the automatic bids they're handing out. Baseball, we have seen some big shifts. I remember the Cajuns making a run in the Sun Belt tournament, getting a couple extra quad 1 wins, and that being the difference in them getting an at-large bid. Where are you on how the committee values the conference tournaments and how important they are when you're looking at these 64 teams?
Yeah, I'll just go back to the last couple minutes of our conversation here. A lot of what we're talking about has to do with how these teams are performing in their respective tournaments. Is Southern Miss going to go win the Sun Belt tournament? And if it does that push it above the top 8 national seed line? That's a real conversation. Does Florida win enough games in the SEC tournament to become a top 8 national seed? What does Louisiana and Texas State look like, in a couple days from now after they compete either against each other or, how deep they go or how deep they don't go? So in baseball, it's super important. I just think that the committee, it's a wishy-washy process, and it changes every year. But one thing that I think is consistent is that what you've done for the committee lately, your most recent performances, are at the end of the day the most important thing, and that does include the conference tournament. So maybe a little bit different than other sports in their selection processes. I think that this is an opportunity, one last chance for teams to kind of put something great in front of the committee's eyes and make one last-ditch effort case for themselves. So I would say the importance is pretty high, and most coaches would say the same.
Before I let you go, Jacob, anything we haven't talked about yet that you've got your eye on, you think's maybe a good matchup or a good tournament to keep things locked in on for us as we're excited about a busy week of college baseball?
You know what? You guys are college baseball fans enough. I'll give you a super random one. I have my eyes on the SoCon tournament right now.
There we go.
Whether or not Mercer wins that league will have an impact on the back of the bubble, in my opinion. Mercer at RPI 26 is in a really good spot to get in at large. And Western Carolina has a series win over Mercer. They're very well equipped to go on and win that tournament. It's a good team. So those are the leagues. I use that as an example to basically say, because of the weaker bubble this year, I do think that there are some smaller leagues that have a chance to make some noise on Selection Monday and push some teams that we currently expect to be in the field out. And so that's kind of where my attention's at the moment.
That is good stuff. Jacob, can't thank you enough for doing this, man. Enjoy the week, enjoy the chaos, and we'll catch up again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
That is Jacob Rudner, Baseball America. You can find him on social media at Jacob Rudner as well. He's been keeping everybody up to date with everything. And there you go. I love that. Little SoCon reference, Mercer. And we know about Mercer from our guy Micah, who told us about that team last week. They had the big win, and they've had a really nice resume. Okay, a lot still left to get to. I do have the lineup in front of me. I won't tease it any longer. The Cajuns are getting somebody back in the outfield today. You may have figured out who it is by now. I'll tell you who it is if you haven't, and we'll reset a couple things. There's also a New Orleans Saint that it appears we can maybe say our final farewells to, and that's kind of a disappointing thing for me. Talk about both those things after the break. It's the LohDown.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
May is Military Appreciation Month. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles and Nolan's Lawnmower Sales and Service off I-49 in Karen Crow are honoring our military all month long. Owners Stacy and Don Benoit would like to take this opportunity to recognize all of the current service members, veterans, and families. Nolan's takes pride in honoring all military personnel and first responders with special discounts on their zero-turn mowers. May is Military Appreciation Month, and we salute you. Powered by Nolan's Lawnmower Sales and Service and ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
From Tiger Stadium to the Texas state line, ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is your home for live and local sports talk in Southwest Louisiana. We're your official home for the LSU Tigers and Houston Astros. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles also tackles the latest involving the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, McNeese Cowboys, and New Orleans Saints. So keep it locked right here. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
May is Military Appreciation Month, and ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles and Nolan's Lawnmower Sales and Service in Karen Crow will be honoring our military all month long. Nolan's is locally owned and supports our military community every day. We honor and salute because freedom isn't free. May is Military Appreciation Month, and we salute you. Powered by Nolan's Lawnmower Sales and Service in Karen Crow and ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles.
It's 9 a.m. You just received a voicemail from your boss.
Hey, Janet. Heads up. We got an important meeting coming up Thursday. The big guys are coming into town, so I need you in charge of lunch, and we've got to look good.
Luckily for Janet, she knows a place, and she knows her boss will be impressed.
Honey Baked Ham can cater your next event. Delicious and freshly sliced deli trays, box lunches with sandwich, chips, and dessert. Or try our fresh salad boxes and the perfect touch with a meat and cheese tray. Honey Baked Ham Company.
Imagine building your dream backyard pool without ever leaving your couch. With Duplessis Builders, you can go shop our in-ground gunite pool packages online, start to finish. Browse our pool designs, compare features, see exactly what's included, and choose the package that fits your style and budget. Once you purchase, our team takes over. From permit and excavation to gunite decking and final startup, you click, we build, you swim. Your backyard upgrade is just a few clicks away. Visit DuplessisBuilders.net and buy your pool online today.
Black's Outdoor Marine is Acadiana Spartan Mower headquarters. Spartan Mowers delivering more mowing power and performance. Black's has commercial and residential Spartan mowers with Kawasaki motors in stock now and ready to cut. Black's also has parts, service, and financing available. Call 337-233-4272. That's 337-233-4272 or stop by 1423 Northwest Evangeline Thruway in Lafayette. Black's Outdoor Marine serving Acadiana since 1968.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
You're listening to the 2026 LAB Award winner for Radio Young Professional of the Year, Dawson Iserloh, the host of the LohDown with D-Loh on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
All right, I mentioned we'd had some starting lineups for Raging Cajun Baseball. They have been submitted. They'll be getting things going in just less than 45 minutes. So here's the big notable one. Mark Collins is back in the lineup. I did not know we were going to see Mark Collins in this tournament. Of course, the injury late in the year, it didn't sound like it was super evident that he was going to return quickly, but here he is. So a lot of this is not going to be any surprise, but here's the notables. Steven Spalita is going to DH. Owen Galt's going to play second base, and Mark Collins is in left. So that means LaSalle's in right. Noah Lewis is in center. The lineups: Rodriguez, Lewis, Amade, Brown, Markle, LaSalle, Spalita, Galt, and Collins. Cody Brash is on the mound. We told you that earlier in the show. We had confirmed it. And so no surprise there as of today. We'll see what Brash is going to do. I would imagine somewhere between 60 and 75 pitches is probably where they're going to want to keep him. But at the same time, like if Brash is dealing, you know how Deggs is, man. It's going to be hard to pull him if you feel like he's giving you your best chance to move on. Obviously, the ideal situation for everybody involved for the Cajuns is you go out and put a bunch of runs on the board and make it to where you can be a little bit more flexible with everything. But this is massive. Marshall, by the way, still has not posted their starting lineup, at least on their social media account. But I think it is expected that they're going to go with Bryce Blevins on the mound, who is their senior, who has led them in innings for the last couple of seasons, thrown over 100 innings in a college baseball season before. But the ERA's been sitting around 4.5. It has not been like he's been dominant. He's just really good. Now, there's some really crazy stuff with Blevins, by the way. I was going through his game logs today. Bryce Blevins this season has only gone less than 6 innings once. He's only gone less than 7 innings 3 times. At one point in the year, in a 4-game stretch, all 4 of these games were wins for the Thundering Herd. He went 8 innings against App, 8 1/3 against ODU, and then back-to-back complete games against South Alabama and Troy. That was his best stretch, but since then, he hasn't necessarily been quite as sharp. At James Madison, went 7 innings, but gave up 10 hits and 4 runs in a loss. Against ULM, he went 7 innings, but gave up 8 hits and 4 runs. And then in his last start of the regular season at Texas State, the team lost. He went 7 innings, gave up 9 hits and 5 runs. Blevins doesn't walk a ton of guys, only 18 of them all year long. And he's got 86 strikeouts. He's a soft-tossing lefty. He's tough to figure out, but if you get him squared up, you can get some hits off this kid, and that's what the Cajuns are going to have to do if that is indeed who Marshall decides to roll with, and I am expected that is what it is. Blevins, by the way, for the record, is also the 2026 Tony Robichaux Leadership Award winner in the Sun Belt Conference, of course, named after the late, great former coach of the Cajuns. And so that is to the student athlete who exemplifies the values and beliefs that the late Tony Robichaux instilled in his players and community. So Blevins was chosen for that due to not only his pitching abilities, but also his work in the classroom in the community, which also includes running a baseball camp in his hometown of Louisa, Kentucky. So a good guy to root for, but for Cajun fans today, they're not going to be rooting for him. They're going to be rooting for the Cajuns to get some runs against them to try and get that season continued on. Told you Milan Pocketer was 9 under. He added another birdie. The Cajun golfer's now 10 under through 15 holes. He's got a shot to run down Will Hartman here if he wants to make this thing even tighter heading into the final round. And then lastly, before we get to our next break, I mentioned that it might be a final farewell for one of my favorite Saints players of all time, and that is sad. Seems like Taysom Hill might be done. Ross Jackson reporting yesterday that Mickey Loomis said that Cam Jordan has been offered a contract by the Saints, so he has an offer on the table. Taysom Hill does not. Taysom reportedly recently moved as well, and his house is on the market in Metairie. Now, those rumors get a little out of hand sometimes, right? You're like, this guy's selling his house. I mean, people who have a lot of money can sell their houses sometimes, and it doesn't mean they're going to a new team. It's happened before. But, start stacking up some dominoes here. Saints haven't given him a contract offer, which to me, I want to say it's surprising. It is at least slightly surprising, but I mean, we saw the writing on the wall that Taysom was aging. I just wish we could have got one more great Taysom year to just enjoy what the skill set was. It did still feel like Kellen Moore had some plans and some ideas for him last year and we saw it at times. It probably just never got to fully come to fruition. I would say, like, hey, on one hand, you probably don't want to take the ball out of Shuck's hands too often this year because, like, he's your future. He's your franchise, it appears like, and you want to get a – but, man, they did it with Breeze, and it was fine. So I don't know if that's even the case. You know, how different is it from Shuck lining up and handing the football off than if you put Taysom back there and run his own option? I don't think it's entirely, messing up your flow or anything like that. But if this is it, then it's a tip of the cap. And, if the Saints aren't offering him a contract – how many other teams are really going to be interested in bringing him in? Like Taysom's not exactly just a plug-and-play opportunity for other teams. So if I'm being honest, if I had to guess as of today what Taysom's doing at the beginning of these, it seems like if the Saints don't decide to give him some sort of 1 year, like, hey, man, we'll have you back, and you probably just retire. That'd be my guess. Because how many other teams are going to be willing, like, think about it, to get the most out of him? You got to have specific packages installed. You have to, spend time out of your offseason to go, hey, how do we utilize this guy properly? And is a team going to do that if he's, quote-unquote, damaged goods enough for the team that created the role not to want to have him back? You know what I mean? So I'm really thinking this might be it for Taysom altogether, but we'll have to wait and see if that develops any further here in the near future. All right, we'll ask that same question to Kevin. We'll get his take on it. We'll also do a little bit of Astros and a lot of Raging Cajuns and Marshall with the host of Footnotes, Kevin Foote, going to join us after the break. It'll be a home and home. I'll return the favor on his show tomorrow. We got him on here on the LohDown today. So that's after the timeout. Stay tuned. It is the LohDown, ESPN Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The LSU Tigers baseball team will try to keep their season alive tonight as they take on the Oklahoma Sooners in the SEC tournament. LSU and Oklahoma met earlier this year in Baton Rouge with OU taking a series win at Alex Box. Sophomore William Schmidt will get the start on the mound for the Tigers opposite of Gavin Jones for OU. First pitch is at 8 p.m. from Hoover Met, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. The Raging Cajuns baseball team will also be in tournament mode today as they face Marshall in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. This will be the first time the Cajuns have played the Thundering Herd since last season's conference tournament when Marshall beat Louisiana 17-13. First pitch this afternoon is at 3 p.m. in Montgomery. And after a lengthy rain delay, Minnesota and Houston's game finally came to an end yesterday with the Twins taking a 6-3 win over the Astros. Tetsuya Imai got hit by the long ball again, giving up 2 through 5 2/3 innings of work. Game 2 of the series will be today, and it'll be Lance McCullers Jr. versus Zebby Matthews for the Twins. First pitch is at 6:40 tonight from Target Field in Minneapolis, and you can listen to it on our sister station, News Talk 98.5 FM and 1520 AM. And the New Orleans Pelicans have found their next head coach in Jamal Mosley. Mosley was recently fired from the Orlando Magic after his team was eliminated by the Detroit Pistons in the first round after having a 3-1 series lead. In his 5 seasons in Orlando, he's led the team to 3 straight postseason appearances. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Row coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
Tax season doesn't have to be stressful. Not with Black & Gold Tax Service in your corner. Conveniently located on Main Street in Broussard, we offer in-office appointments and virtual consultations. You can upload your documents to our secured portal, and we offer secure digital drop-offs. Members of the Better Business Bureau, we proudly serve South Louisiana and all 50 states with integrity, expertise, and personalized care. Visit blackandgoldtax.com and let Black & Gold Tax Service make taxes easy. Black & Gold Tax Service, where accuracy meets Acadiana pride.
Oh, look who's here.
Everybody Loves Raymond is on MeTV.
Who told you that?
Raymond!
America's #1 classic TV network.
Nothing even comes close.
Enjoy 2 back-to-back episodes every weeknight.
We're doing it twice.
Watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's all about you, Raymond.
Weeknights starting at 8 on MeTV.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
At 28, I had struggled with opiate and meth addiction for 12 years. I did and said things that the sober me never would have done. One day I realized I was not invincible. I was not exempt. And that's when a friend told me about elite rehab placement. They gave me the tools I needed to get sober, and all it took was the one phone call.
Elite Rehab can help you start to break your addiction problem and get sober in as little as 7 days. And we'll work with your insurance provider to help cover the costs. Plus, we have travel assistance programs to get you here by plane or train. Make this free call right now to learn more. 800-819-8313. 800-819-8313. 800-819-8313. That's 800-819-8313.
Do yourself a favor and download the free ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app, powered by Moss Motors BMW for your Android or Apple devices. Download the app by searching ESPN 1037 Lafayette or ESPN 1041 Lake Charles. It's just that easy to take Southwest Louisiana's sports station with you wherever you go.
Kevin Foote is our next guest here on the LohDown, last guest of the day on a Tuesday. A lot going on, Kevin. How you hanging in there?
I'm trying to.
And so
I don't like 2-hour rain delays, but they didn't ask my opinion on that deal.
I know they didn't, and oh, man, that's good. So I want to start with this. Taysom doesn't have an offer on the table. Don't you think he'll just retire if that's how this ends up going?
Yeah, but I still don't – I mean, look, if he wants to retire, I still don't get it. Like, I mean, I think too many people are judging. I said it all of last year, how he played. It was his first year after a major surgery. If he wants to play, he's going to be better this year than he was last year. Now, if he's just done playing, that's him. That's fine. But I don't get where everyone thinks he's so washed up. I mean, look at Kirk Cousins. His first year, it looked like he didn't need to ever play football again. He played pretty well last year, the second year after the major surgery. He ain't even running. So I think he still could play. Now, if he wants to play, that's up to him.
Well, but then why do you think there's not an offer on his table? Wouldn't you? I would think they'd at least throw him a 1-year deal and say, hey, I mean, you can help us.
I mean, I don't think he really fits into what they're doing, but I would think he could fit into what somebody else was doing.
Well, my point was like, it's just a lot. If you want to get the most out of him, you have to be really tailored to his skill set. And I don't know if another team wants to take all that time out of their offseason. If you at least have the structure in place already, that seems like the best fit for him to play again.
Yeah, but I don't really think that he fits into the way that they envision this offense working. So I don't know how much he fits in anymore because they got a lot more weapons than they did before.
They do, and hopefully that is a good thing, and maybe that's part of the reason why they haven't offered him. Okay, the Astros, you sat through a rain delay yesterday. Imai, I mean, when he's not giving up homers, he doesn't look that bad. I don't know.
I thought that was the first time he looked like a major league pitcher. And I thought he pitched better last night than he did in that one good outing he had against the A's. Because even that outing, he was it was ball and then labor and then ball and then foul and then ball. And he wasn't really – he didn't look good. I thought he looked good. He attacked the hitters. He didn't pitch scared. They just pitched stupid. I mean, when you throw a fastball up and he fouls it back, and a fastball up and he fouls it back, and a fastball up and he fouls it back, and a fastball up and he hits a home run, you don't throw the fastball up again. The next at bat, they threw the fastball up, he hit a two-run home. What are you throwing fastball up again? I blame that Vasquez on that one. But other than that, I thought he pitched real. You know, it was by far the best he's looked. And then, of course, the way things are going for the Astros, he's looking great finally, and you get a rain delay, and you got to pull him. It's just, you got to be kidding.
That was good words per minute on that answer right there. It got lost in the shuffle. How about Spencer Arrighetti flirting with a no-hitter?
It's very nice. You know me, I don't like no-hitters, but I love him pitching that well. And to be fair, this is how it works. Like, I'm covering the Cajuns. So when I'm covering the Cajuns and I'm watching the Astros, I got the sound down. I'm paying attention, but I'm really not paying attention. Like, not like you would if you were just watching, you know, just the game. So obviously I know he's doing well because I know what the score is, and I see that the other team isn't doing anything. So when I went back at the end of the game, I'm down on the field and I'm doing the interview. The post-game interviews of Coach Deggs. I don't remember what night that was. But anyway, whatever night that was.
Friday night.
And so I'm doing the interviews, and I'm like, why have they not pulled him? Because he, like, walked to batter. I'm like, what are they doing? I didn't even know he had a no-hitter is the point of that story. Like, and then right after he gave it up and the interview was over and I got into the car and listened to the very end of the game, I realized that he had a no-hitter. That's why they left him in.
It is. And to be honest, like pulling it off, letting him stay in there, and then still holding the shutout, Brian King coming in. You thought Brian King was terrible. I mean, that cat's reliable right now compared to what else you got.
Well, Brian King, I never trusted him last. And my whole thing with Brian King is I need to just not talk about him anymore because every time I said, oh, you know what, maybe I've been too hard on Brian King. He has a performance like he did. When was that? Last week where he walked 3 and let him tie the game and all that. And so I just need to not say anything about Brian King and just hope he keeps him. But, yeah, he's been doing better, no question. He did great, and he even pitched multiple innings and sat in the dugout and still did well. I hope he keeps it up.
Okay, the Cajuns are going to play Marshall, and I don't know if you've been following along with this other stuff. They got some help from NC State this morning. They got some help from Purdue this morning, losing baseball games, but they have to help themselves. They've got to win this baseball game. They're going to start Cody Brash. You know, I've seen some people going, oh, they're going to limit 50, 60 pitches. Deggs is aggressive in these moments, man. I'm not convinced he's not going to let Brash go a little longer than people are thinking. What's your read on that?
Well, what my concern with that is still remember that this guy was a closer at the beginning. What has he made? 6 starts now. And he has gone to 90 pitches a few times, but he's done all of those on 6 days rest. He still only got 4 days rest. So I'm wondering, you know, is he going to be good for more than 80 pitches? You know what I'm saying? Are they really going to let him go 80, 90, 95 pitches? Because he hasn't done that very much. And are they going to let him do that on 4 days rest, especially when you would like to maybe, if you last a long time in this tournament, maybe pitch him one more time in this tournament if you keep winning. And so I think obviously the best case scenario is to get a big lead and be able to pull him. But no, I think he's going to, if he feels like it's the right thing to do health-wise, I think he'll be as aggressive as he needs to be because in his mind it's a must-win.
We're also getting Mark Collins back today. Did that surprise you at all? See him in the lineup?
Shouldn't have shocked me because we said 3 weeks, and that was about 3 weeks ago. So it's not a huge shock, but do you want to bring someone in who hasn't been getting at bats? I understand that your depth has been limited, so you probably feel like he's the best option. I just always wonder about a guy feeling his way back in such an important game. That's kind of risky to me.
Well, and then the more I thought about it, it's the left-handed arm is probably as much of what it is. He probably doesn't like the idea of Mandino being in the lineup against Blevins. This Blevins guy, I know he's been around the conference forever, and so we know him a little bit. Have you seen this guy's lines this season? This should be your favorite player in the league, and he should be your favorite player in the world. He never throws less than 6 innings.
Look, I was talking about him this morning on my show, and it scares me because if you're like, obviously, they think they're hitting 278 against him. His ERA's in the fours. It's not like he's this, shut down pitcher, but he has 18 walks in 102 innings, which means he ain't giving much help. It also means that they're probably going up there swinging. And how do you get upset by by a team that's not as good as you is if they don't give you anything, hardly no walks, hardly no hit batsmen, and you swing a lot because you're not being patient because you know that you don't think he's going to walk you, so you swing, get yourself out sometime. Plus, if you have one of those games where you hit 8 or 10 atom balls that are hard, that's how you get upset. So I'm a little concerned about that part of it.
Yeah, no, because he is the guy who gives Marshall a chance to win every time he pitches, like to your point. So he's going to give up something. But yeah, if you don't hit a couple balls out of the yard or if you don't have a great outing on the other end, if Brash struggles for whatever reason or the guys behind him, he's going to, and he might give up a couple 2-run homers in the first 2 innings and they'll go, all right, still try and give us 8 tonight. I mean, he went 8 or more innings in 4 straight starts at one point this season.
And again, it's something that Tony and I used to talk about, and a lot of people, it's what the Piper is about, or a big part of it, is very few 4 and 5 and 6-run innings take place because you get 6 hits. Normally you get like 3 walks and 2 or 3 hits. And so if he's not walking people, it's going to be tougher to put him away.
What is your gut feeling on what they have to do?
I mean, again, it's creative accounting. I'm telling myself you got to get into the main draw by winning today and win 2 games. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're just guessing. I mean, I feel if they do that, if they go 2-2 in the main draw and win today, I feel like that they're going to be in. But, again, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I think it's main draw +1. I don't think it's main draw +2.
Just +1?
Yeah, no, it'd help if the 1 was Coastal. But I still do think if they get 1, they'll probably be in a good spot, especially given the bubble teams that have already lost. But you do have to factor in, like, if Missouri State doesn't win Conference USA and if Mercer doesn't win the SoCon, I mean, there's a few other that can get stolen.
I just feel like if they win today and win 2, I feel like they're in.
I feel like, I think at that point I'd feel great about
it. 1, depending on who it is, like if it's Coastal, I probably agree with you. But again, it won't be Coastal if that's the case. They would have already won 1, and so
that's not true. They'd won. They'd be in the main draw. So they could. What I'm saying is they could, if they beat Marshall today and beat Coastal tomorrow and then lose their next 2. I still think they're in.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was thinking Coastal was the second game because it is the second game, but in the main draw, it's the first game.
It's a lot of stuff to figure out, huh? We're keeping this in order
for an old guy who's didn't get enough sleep last night.
You should have seen. I was trying to figure it out yesterday, like who's playing who, and then the top seed remaining and the lowest seed. And then I was like, I need to take a commercial break, figure this out, and then came back and still didn't have it figured out. But it is what it is, I guess. What do you make of? Do you have any sort of trepidation about these young guys in their first kind of like do or die moments? Although I don't know. I mean, it was a massive series against Coastal, and they played fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not real worried about that. They've been playing big roles. For Noah, it's not that long, but he's got even early on before his injury, he got some at bat. So I think they're good there. I think they're having success as freshmen because they are mentally tough, not because that's going to bother them.
Okay, I know you and I have talked about it a lot in the past about lineups, and like I personally think lineup. People who have bellyaches over the lineup, it's a little bit ridiculous because it doesn't mean as much as they think it means. But I also will say, why is Blaze Rodriguez the leadoff hitter in this game? I don't know, man.
But he's been doing that. He started that an app, and he did that this weekend, and it worked. And so I'm not going to say, it worked, so don't do it.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know.
I mean, who do you want to lead off?
Probably Noah Lewis, but I'm not. There's no major. As I said, I don't want to be hypocritical because I usually don't think the lineups matter all that much. I just was a little surprised.
I think in an individual game, especially in Major League Baseball, I used to have a friend who every day he would overanalyze the Astros lineup and why are we playing this guy? I said,
right.
In any given day, any lineup can work in any given day. Now, that doesn't mean I want that guy hitting in that spot every day for 3 straight weeks, but in any given day, any lineup can work.
Right. Well, and the other idea, too, and the Major League Baseball philosophy that I do agree with is that if you hit a guy second instead of third throughout the season, he's going to gather up 20 or 30 more at-bats as, you know, when you multiply it across 160. So I understand it in that sense of it. And so I guess Steggs just really doesn't believe in that aspect of it, you know, like, because he could have had Lee Amade hitting second all year, and Amade would probably have 30 more at-bats than what he does right now. He just hadn't been worried about that.
Yes.
Amade not getting for all conference at all, pretty crazy. I know you don't care about those awards, but isn't that something?
It seemed like he should have been there somewhere because you could argue he's their most consistent player other than Brash, yes.
And the defense, too. Like, I think that gets overlooked sometimes.
No, defense is great. But, again, most even coaches on the different sports, they talk defense, but they don't believe defense. Because if they believe, I've always argued, if they believe defense, then basketball coaches would recruit defensive players. But they recruit offensive players and try to make them play defense.
Gary Broadhead doesn't do that, though.
Yeah.
He believes in defense. He backs up. He preaches what he says.
He is the exception for a lot of rules, yes, sir.
That is true. I didn't think he'd make it to the show today, but he did. Thank you, Kevin. As always, enjoy the game. Enjoy the day. I'll return the favor tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, sir.
That is Kevin Foote. Man, couple things there. It is interesting to get Collins back. It makes a lot more sense now that I think about the lefty aspect of it with Blevins. I haven't seen his splits. I'm going to assume, like most lefties, he's tougher on lefties than he is on righties. For the record, the Cajuns have a lineup that has 7 right-handed hitters in it today. The only 2 left-handers are Spalita and Lee Amade, and obviously Amade was going to be in there regardless of who was throwing. Spalita, that's not much of a surprise. Other than that, everybody bats right-handed, and obviously they don't have a switch hitter in there anymore with Hernandez being out still. So it's all righties plus those 2, and we'll see if they can gather up enough to score on Blevins. That is probably my biggest thing about this game, is that Blevins keeps a team in it. And I ran through those numbers for you before about how many innings he's gone in each start. He can give up some loud contact. He can give up some runs, and they won't pull him. What is interesting about this game, though, that I'll be fascinated to see if the situation plays itself out. This is do or die for them. Obviously, Marshall's they've got no at-large consideration or anything like that. If they don't win this game, their season's over. Whereas in the regular season, even if Blevins has gotten touched up early, they've left him in and they've let him try and, get them 7 or 8 innings. And for them, it's been a great plan because it allows you to hopefully save your bullpen for Saturday and Sunday since you're throwing this kid on Friday nights. If they get down 3 or 4 runs to the Cajuns in the first few innings, do they feel the whole sense of desperation like, hey, we can't let it get out of hand? Do we pull him? And that's what could allow the Cajuns to break it open, to be honest with you, because I think as long as Blevins is in there, I just don't see the Cajuns scoring 7 runs off of him. I don't see them doing that. Maybe I'll be wrong. I'd be happy to be wrong. We will wrap up the show on the other side. We got to at least address the Will Wade elephant in the room. There's a player that's committed to him, and maybe you could perhaps argue in Will Wade fashion there's going to be some strings attached to this thing. It's not a cut and dry signee. We'll talk about that. We'll send you to AFR. We'll get you set up for everything you need to know after the break. It's the LohDown, ESPN Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
This is the LohDown with D-Loh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles have teamed up with John Well Therapeutic Services to bring awareness to mental health. Glenda at John Well Therapeutic Services is a licensed professional counselor providing individual therapy to adults. She has more than 15 years of experience working with clients in a variety of settings. Whether you prefer in-person sessions or the convenience of telehealth, support is available across Louisiana. Book your appointment today by visiting Psychology Today and searching for Glenda Johnwell. Southwest Louisiana Sports Station and Johnwell Therapeutic Services are proud sponsors of Mental Health Awareness Month because your mental health matters.
ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles is your home for the Houston Astros.
And the Astros stun the Mariners.
Hunter Brown, Yordan Alvarez, and the rest of the Astros are looking to get back to the postseason. You can listen to every pitch, hit, and thrilling victory of the Houston Astros.
Incredible!
As Robert Ford and Steve Sparks will be on the call. Tune in this season for live Astros baseball on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This Memorial Day, tee off somewhere special. Farm D Alley Golf Club is open and ready for you. Celebrate the holiday with fresh air, beautiful fairways, and a round you won't forget. Whether you're playing with friends or honoring the day with a peaceful solo game, Farm D Alley is the perfect place to be. Book your tee time now. Call or book online at farmdalley.com and make this Memorial Day one to remember. Farm D Alley Golf Club, where great moments are always in play. Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3 gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab or 337-519-3563.
Every weeknight, MeTV has your laugh therapy.
To chase away the blues or the olive drabs.
With 2 hours of MASH at 5.
This guy's ankle has tickled my funny bone.
Followed by the Andy Griffith Show at 7.
Doggone it, Otis. He's supposed to be hugging me when I'm arresting you.
But he likes you, Bard.
Weeknights on MeTV.
Watch Meet TV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard, aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Do you know a veteran in need? Nation's Finest, through the VA's Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, helps veterans and their families struggling with rent, employment, and other housing-related costs. Today, Nation's Finest operates more than 30 locations in California, Arizona, and Nevada, helping thousands of veterans every year. Visit nationsfinest.org or call 1-833-468-9676. That's 1-833-468-9676.
Helping you get through your workday. This is ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Back here on the LohDown, closing things out on a Tuesday. The poll question today, how do you feel about the Pelicans hiring of Jamal Mosley? We talked about this a good bit yesterday. Love it, okay with it, hate it, or don't care. I mean, I'm saying okay with it because I don't like to say things are a failure before they start. I was willing to give Dennis Allen a chance, even though it wasn't my favorite hiring when they made it. I was willing to give him another chance after that because I think coaches need multiple years. And, eventually you get to the point where you're like, all right, this wasn't working. But I was going to be open to the idea of it working. So I'm going to be open to the idea of it. But, I mean, look, it's not my favorite hiring in the world. Not my favorite one ever. So that's where I stand on the Jamal Mosley thing. I look forward to having some conversations. I have some interviews lined up. Might take till next week to get some of them in just because of the scheduling of it all. But I look forward to learning more about him through some people that know the situation a little better than I do. So that's kind of my take on that right now. I'll close the show with this. LSU got another signee today. They got another commitment for their basketball team, right? Will Wade has been taking his time on this. They've been recruiting heavily internationally. We've heard some reports of it. If you're familiar with On3, they'll do these graphics when a player commits somewhere, and they'll have now, in the era of the transfer portal, they'll have this little train that shows you the path that these players have taken, right? They started at a school and then went somewhere else and then went somewhere else. It used to be on the old school recruiting websites, that trail was who they had offers from and then who they accepted the offer from. Well, now it's what schools did they go to? And so you'll see these, and now, like, the famous TJ Finley one, they're running out of space at the bottom of the screen to put all the logos on there. We get it, right? RJ Lewis Jr. has committed to LSU, and you're looking through these, and you go, all right, well, he started his career at UMass, and so a lot of you are probably like, all right, yeah, the Minutemen, I know about them. And then there's the St. John's logo, and you're like, yeah, all right, St. John's, Rick Pitino's over there now, they're getting good again. I'm following you. And then there's two more logos, and you might have been there sitting there going, is there a junior college that I haven't heard of that's got this logo? What is this some sort of Division II school? No, it's the Utah Jazz and the Boston Celtics. That's the other teams he's played for. RJ Lewis Jr.'s played in NBA games. This one's not even like the G League deal where he was there and then he comes back. This one's not like he was on the roster, but he never appeared in a game. No, RJ Lewis Jr. has appeared in NBA games, and he's committed to play for LSU next year. And so, look, the LSU side of it, I'm taking that completely out of it for this conversation. What's happening in college basketball right now, I don't know if there's any way you can say this is a good thing for the sport, man. And there's 100 different angles to look at it from. The right to earn, like the free market aspect of it. And so, like, RJ Lewis Jr. is probably getting paid a lot of money to go play for Will Wade. And by the way, let me throw this in there before. He's not eligible to play right now. But LSU's going to do what everybody's doing. Sue him and hope you find a really good lawyer who wins your case. And so they're going to see if they can get him eligible. But the idea that players who have stepped foot on an NBA court and played in NBA games can just say, yeah, but I'd kind of rather go collect $5 million and play for Michigan State next year. That's not a good thing to have available in this world we live. You know what? I understand that college athletics are not what they once were. It's not the same construct, and we've found in a lot of ways it's probably a lot better than it once was. Allowing the NCAA and these institutions to capitalize for millions and 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 millions of dollars, and it never going to the players outright, that was probably wrong. We're figuring it out. But the idea that you can forego, I understand too, it's not necessarily amateur status. Like, that's a phrase that we haven't used a whole lot in the last few years because these guys aren't really amateurs anymore. They're getting paid to do it. But I also think if you get paid to play professionally, you shouldn't be able to reverse course and go back to college. That's kind of like a kid that plays high school baseball for a year and is like excelling and then's like, yeah, but you know where I could really tear it up? If I was on JV next season. I could really tear up JV pitching right now. Give me a few at-bats on the JV squad. Like, it's just not right in my opinion. So it's not a personal thing with RJ Lewis Jr. It's not a specific thing with LSU. I don't think this is a good precedent to be setting down the road. And we'll see. As I said, unfortunately, as most things, this is going to get decided in a courtroom. And who knows what the implications of it are going to be. But that did come down today. I wanted to at least address it, and that's how we close out the show. All right, we got another one planned for you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 1 to 3 p.m. We will see you then. We've got Zach Nagy coming on to talk LSU. We've got a couple things in store for you on a Wednesday edition of the show. We'll see what the Cajuns do. They're about to get things going in just a few minutes. Must-win game. AFR is next.
It's May, and spring is finally here. A time of growth, renewal, and hope. And what better time to kick off Mental Health Awareness Month? Johnwell Therapeutic Services are proud to highlight May as National